بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Today, inshallah, we're going to start reflecting on Surah Yusuf a little bit more deeper. We open the surah. The surah starts in a scene in which we see Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam sitting with his father, Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam, and they are having a conversation. Let's start by thinking about these two prophets. May Allah's mercy be upon them and peace be upon them both, who they were and where they came from. We know that Yusuf was the son of Yaqub. Yaqub had 12 sons, 10 older sons, and then the two youngest ones, Yusuf, which is Joseph, and Benjamin or Benjamin, right? And all of them will be mentioned, inshallah, in this story. And Yusuf alayhi salam is sitting with his father Yaqub. Yaqub is the son of Ishaq, and Ishaq is the son of Ibrahim. So subhanAllah, this is a lineage of prophecy. And we see these two prophets sitting together. And Yaqub alayhi salam is talking to his son, reminding him about where he came from, who he is, who his grandparents are, and the responsibility that he has as a child of this lineage, subhanAllah. And it is a beautiful scene in which we see young Yusuf sitting with his father and telling him, "Oh, my father, ya abati." He says to him, "Ya abati" twice. And you see in this the relationship that there is between the father and the son. He says to him, "Oh, my father, I have seen a dream. And in this dream, I have seen 10 stars and the sun and the moon prostrating to me." So we see that there's a very close relationship between the father and the son. And in this regard, subhanAllah, we think about the relationship that should be between parents and can also be reflected in the relationship between teachers, the relationship between murabbiyeen, mentors, people who, as people of one generation, the concept of intergenerational learning. When we sit with those who are younger with us, subhanAllah, many a times in our spaces, we divide between the youth and the elders, we divide between the people of one generation and the younger generation. But there is a very essential and important aspect of having intergenerational learning, having people, mentors of one generation, sitting with the next generation, and ensuring that the qualities of these mentors allow the younger generation to open up to them and to share with them. Yusuf is sharing his dream with his father, and he's sharing this dream, and you can just imagine that he's a little bit overwhelmed. What does it mean that he sees these creations of God, these massive creations in the universe prostrating to him? What does that mean? Who am I? Yusuf must be thinking about that. And it must be a little bit of anxiety and maybe fear in Yusuf's heart as he tells this dream to his father. And again, we're thinking about when you have one generation sharing with the next, what is the advice that they're seeking? What are the reflections that they're seeking? What is the knowledge from one generation that should be passed down to the next? And that's exactly what Yaqub does. Yaqub says to Yusuf, "This is the lineage that you come from. You come from a lineage of prophets. You're going to have a responsibility." And as a father and as a mentor, he's been teaching him, he's been guiding him, he's been showing him, he's been being an example for him. We think, subhanAllah, that Yusuf was approximately 12 years old at this time, plus 1 or 2 years, Allahu Alam, Allah knows best. But he was a young youth, a young man, reaching the age of being responsible for his actions. And we are pretty sure, subhanAllah, that for him to reach this relationship with his father, he had sat in this setting and been with his father multiple of times, right? And he's learning from him, and he's being guided by him, and he's watching it, walking in his footsteps, learning from experience. So this role of teachers, parents, mentors, murabbin in the development of the next generation. And we'll see in the next coming episodes how this relationship, right, that has been formed over time affects Yusuf when he is all alone, when he's away from his father, when he's away from his mentor and the one who has taught him for so many years. And so he is sitting with his father and he tells his father, "This is the dream that I see." And his father then reminds him of who he is. He reminds him of his identity. SubhanAllah, again, we learn from this that when we are sitting with the next generation, when we're teaching the young people in our spaces, that we have to remind them where they came from, who they are, what they represent, the ummah that they're part of, the challenges that they may face, but the promise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for them. And this is what Prophet Yaqub does very well. And this is a message that we will see through the story that Sayyidina Yusuf carries very, very center in his mind and his heart as he continues his life, inshallah. What his father has taught him in terms of who he is, his connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his commitment to Allah's da'wah and his commitment to the community and the society. And so Then we also learn that parents, mentors also know the personalities of those people around them. So the response of Sayyidina Yaqub to Yusuf is, this is, the dream. It is a good sign of who you will become. But also, Yusuf, do not tell your brothers this dream. Don't tell your brothers this dream. Why? Yaqub knows his sons. Yaqub, so subhanAllah, it's part of being a good murabbi, part of being a good parent, a good mentor, a good teacher, which you understand the characteristics of those you are working with, the characteristics of those who are around you. And so he tells Yusuf, for your sake and for the sake of your brothers, do not tell them your dream. And subhanAllah, time passes and we see that there is envy in the hearts of Sayyidina Yusuf's brothers, his 10 older brothers. This is exactly what Yaqub was worried about when he tells Yusuf not to tell them his dream. And there was a discussion between the brothers thinking about how can they get rid of Yusuf, the one who has taken all the attention from their father. And so the shaitan comes between them and they are discussing together about how they're going to get rid of him, how they need to remove him from in front of their father's face so that they can be the center of attention for their father. And they say to each other, "Nahnu usbatun," we are a strong group. What does our father see in this young brother of ours, right? We learn from this message Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in this ayah that it's not about strength, it's not about power, it's not about age, it's not about wealth. These brothers saw, look at what we have, and what does Yusuf have? But Yaqub saw beyond that. Yaqub saw that Yusuf, subhanAllah, we will see in the story that he will be called a muhsin many times. Yaqub saw Sayyidina Yusuf's character, right? His strength in his character, who he was as an individual, his wisdom, his hikmah, his ikhlas, his sincerity. Sayyidina Yaqub saw that, and that is why he chose to focus his attention on him. Our power and our future as an ummah is not necessarily in our numbers, our strength, but it is in the individuals. We put our resources in people because it is these people, inshallah, that will, through the help of Allah Ta'ala, that will take us to the next level. And this is exactly what Sayyidina Yaqub is doing. He's putting his time and energy into the resource, into the son of his, that he sees these qualities and characteristics in. And his brothers, his 10 older brothers, they don't understand it, subhanAllah. They don't come from that framework of, it's not about power and prestige and strength and wealth. It's about character that really helps the individual in their journey closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and their journey of da'wah and islah. And so the brothers make a plan to harm Yusuf. Either they want to kill him, they want to get rid of him. And they say to each other, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And they say to each other, after you hurt Yusuf, after you harm him, after you get rid of him, then after that, وَتَكُونُوا مِن بَعْدِهِ قَوْمًا صَالِحِينَ. And after that, you'll be a good people. So subhanAllah, the shaitan tricks them that do all the evil that you want. In the end, you can turn good. In the end, you can ask for forgiveness. And so the shaitan tricks them in the idea that you can use haram to reach good. No, we can never use haram. We can never use harm. We can never, there is no taking an evil means to a good end. That combination doesn't exist in our framework, in our Islamic framework. So, subhanAllah, the shaitan tricks them that do what you want now, in the end you can become salihin. This is not part of who we are in Islam. And so they make a grave mistake. The envy that they have in the hearts against their brother. SubhanAllah, there's a hadith that says, jealousy eats up good deeds like fire eats up wood. When you bring a match to the wood and you hear it crackle and you see the fire, the wood, the fall apart and disintegrate completely and turn black. So the hadith tells us that jealousy eats up good deeds like the fire eats up wood. SubhanAllah, this is what was happening, SubhanAllah, in the hearts of Sayyidina Yusuf's brothers. And so they make this plan. Now there is one brother of theirs who speaks up and says, let's not kill him. Let's just get rid of him. Just maybe throw him in the well. Just get him out of our way, And so there's one of them that has some goodness in his heart. Now we were going to talk a little bit about this one brother. Is this brother a muslih or is he a salih? So there is a huge responsibility on us as Muslims to understand the difference between being a salih. A salih is a good person in upon themselves. They do good deeds. They have a conscience that reminds them of good, that reminds them of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But a muslih is one that takes that goodness to the next level and changes the world around them and impacts it with goodness, is an agent of change for good change. So this one brother says, let's not kill him. Let's just get rid of him, keep him out of our father's sight. But so he is somebody who has a sense of goodness in his heart, right? But he does not go to the point of being a salih. He doesn't say stop. He doesn't say, I'm going to inform my father. He doesn't say, we are not going to do this. He doesn't put himself in the face of difficulty for the sake of goodness for society, right? He says something minimal, but then he goes along with the plan. And this is something, again, in our Islamic framework that is not acceptable. As believers, we have to speak up for goodness, and we actually have to take upon ourselves the role of standing up for goodness and stopping evil, even if harm may come our way. And this is the role of the prophets. This is the footsteps of the prophets. Each one of them stood in harm's way for the sake of the goodness of society and the sake of goodness of those beyond them. So this one brother says, let's just, throw him in the well, basically. And so that is exactly what they do. They find a very dry well, but a very deep well. And they take their brother and throw them in that well. Now, before they throw them in that well, I want to reflect a little bit about Yusuf's situation. We hear in the story that the brothers go and tell their father, you've never allowed Yusuf to come with us. We always go out hunting. We go out on these expeditions. You always protect him. You keep him next to you. You're so worried about him. Let him come with us. He's getting older. He's in his early teens. Let him come enjoy. Let him learn from us. And I'm sure Yusuf, as a younger brother, you can imagine if you are a younger brother, how much you are so excited. You want to go with your brothers. Your father is finally letting you go out on this expedition, this hunt with your brothers out into the forest. And you feel so special that your brothers have taken you in to their space, and your father has finally allowed you to go. How he must have felt as he walked with them. So I want to reflect a little bit on how Sayyidina Yusuf must have felt at that moment. Finally, his father is allowing him to go with his brothers on this hunt, on this expedition. He's never been allowed before. He's the little brother going out with his big brothers, feeling special, feeling excited, feeling so happy that finally he can go with them. And all of a sudden, he finds himself being thrown into this very deep, very dark, very dry well. There's not even water for him to drink to remain alive. How he must have felt. What must have been going through his mind? Why did my brothers do this to me? The pain. You know how we said in the first episode, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the surah to Prophet Muhammad after he went to Ta'if, right? The pain that Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was feeling because of how the people of Ta'if responded to him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him the story of Yusuf to see, imagine how Yusuf felt at that moment, in that deep, dark well. His brothers have just thrown him, the ones who are closest to him. Unbelievable what envy can lead you to do. This is your little brother, and you can throw him in that well, and of the 10 of them, none of them actually stops this evil deed from being done. And he finds himself in the depth of that well all by himself. The feeling that he must have been going through. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, subhanAllah, another kind of light for Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he awhayna ilayhi, and we give a wahi, a revelation to Yusuf. At that moment, when he's in the deep, dark well, he feels Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with him. He receives Allah's wahi. He feels that he's not alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him that one day you will face your brothers. You're going to be okay. You're going to get out of this well. You're going to face your brothers in the future, and you will be in a position of strength, and they will be in a position of weakness. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us here that even in our most difficult moments, we are never alone. We have to look for that glitter of light in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and says to us, I am testing you because you are going to become a better person. I am taking you on this journey of strength and growth because I have something better for you. I am always with you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always with you. And we have to have that yaqeen. We have to have that belief. And that is exactly the sense of peace that Yusuf had when he found himself in that depth of the fire. And that exactly the sense of peace that Yusuf found himself when he finds himself in the darkness of the dry well. And he waits for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save him from this low, dark, deep place. And inshallah, we will continue his story in the next episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.